how do Amiibo work in every Wii U game? Today, we'll be looking at all 22 Amiibo-compatible Wii U games and finding out. Let's start with Amiibo Tap, Nintendo's greatest bits. Using any Amiibo, you can unlock demo scenes from one random NES or SNES game. There's 32 different games that can be selected, and it's completely random every time. This was just a way to try to convince you to buy the full game on the eShop. It's the same kind of approach that Masterpieces had with Smash Bros. Brawl and Smash Bros. For Wii U. So nothing too crazy here, but I guess it's a neat way to sample games you may have never tried. Next is Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. This is by far one of the worst games Nintendo has ever made, and also one of the most in-depth uses of Amiibo on the entire console. In order to play the game at all, you have to own at least a few of the Animal Crossing Amiibo. This game is completely unplayable without them. To start, using the Smash Bros. Villager Amiibo unlocks a golden statue in the hub world. Fascinating. In the board game, you'll tap whichever Animal Crossing Amiibo you pick to roll the dice. Yep, that is literally the only purpose they serve. Instead of just hitting a button to roll, you tap the Amiibo instead. It's incredibly irritating to be forced to keep an Amiibo in your hand while still holding your controller to play. There isn't much of a game here to begin with though. You just move around a board and almost nothing happens the entire time. There's also a bunch of mini-games that require Amiibo as well. We've got Acorn Chase, where you'll randomly pick 3 Amiibo cards before playing. By doing this, you'll add 3 characters to the minigame, and the goal is to get the acorns and finish the level. However, you can only move by tapping the cards over and over again. This has to be one of the clunkiest things you can do in a video game. Instead of using a D-pad to move, you have to awkwardly hold the cards in your hand and constantly tap them. Then there's Balloon Island, which is okay. You'll hold the Amiibo card in place to keep your character floating in the air. When you move away from the NFC touch point, your character falls and you get points by bouncing on balloons. Again, buttons would have made this much better, but at least this one isn't annoying to control. The quiz show is pretty basic. Tap an Amiibo card, and the character you picked will be the one asking questions. Then we've got Fruit Path, and this one answers some questions about things on these cards that appear to be completely random. Have you ever wondered why the Amiibo cards have random dice blocks? Well, this minigame is partly why. Depending on which character you pick will determine how far forward you'll move on your turn. The only real challenge here is avoiding pitfalls. If you fall into one, then you'll lose some of your apples. Desert Island Escape is a somewhat interesting one. Once again, you'll use 3 random Amiibo cards to add characters in. And from here, you need to survive 7 days and try to escape the island. Each character has different abilities, which adds a bit of variety, so I guess it's a kind of neat idea. It doesn't really use Amiibo though, besides just picking the characters at the beginning, and thank God for that. Next, we've got Rossetti Bop. Again, you'll scan 3 random Amiibo cards. Now let's take a look at these cards again, because you'll notice they all have a rock, paper, or scissors image on them. This determines which kind of hammer your character will hold. The goal is to bot Mr. Rossetti dolls, but only if you'll win the rock, paper, scissors match. It's an okay idea for a minigame, but you can only attack by tapping the Amiibo card, which once again leads to a very clunky experience. Next is Mystery Campers, and this game requires 6 Amiibo cards. If you've played Hit and Blow, then you've played Mystery Campers. It's the exact same game, but you'll use the characters' heads as the colors. Not only is this more confusing because you might have similarly colored heads, but they actually made the controls as bad as possible. Yeah, something as simple as Hit and Blow is ruined because of these cards. In order to play, you tap the Amiibo card to play it. That might sound all good and dandy, but here's the thing. That's the only thing you can do. You can't undo moves or add them in any order you want. You always have to play from left to right. This game is bafflingly annoying with Amiibo cards, but there's only one more minigame left, and that is Amiibo Card Battle. This one requires 6 Amiibo cards again, and it boils down to a game of war. Yep, the dice block on your card determines how high the card value will be. The only difference is that if someone plays a card that matches the star sign on the crystal ball, the rules reverse. And that's basically everything. It's no wonder most of these games rarely use Amiibo because this was such a mistake. Next is Captain Toad Treasure Tracker. There's not much to this one. If you scan in the Toad amiibo, then you'll unlock a Pixel Toad that's used for hide-and-seek challenges. So I guess this adds a bit more replay value, but it's nothing crazy exciting. You can also scan in any other amiibo to get a free 1-up. Moving on to Hyurle Warriors, by scanning any amiibo from the Legend of Zelda series, you'll unlock the spinner from Twilight Princess. This can be used in combat, and from what I can tell, it seems to be a decent weapon. After that, scanning any Legend of Zelda amiibo will get you weapons that are rated 3 stars or higher. And non-Zelda amiibo will get you weaker weapons, crafting materials, and rupees. This is a lot more typical of what amiibo tend to offer, just some basic weapons and items to help you out a tiny bit. Then there's Kirby and the Rainbow Curse. You can use Kirby, Meta Knight, and King Dedede once a day for 1 stage each. Kirby allows you to star dash at any time, which normally requires you to get 100 stars. It's a lot better than using a normal dash since you can break through metal blocks and plow through enemies much easier. Meta Knight gives you faster speeds when dashing, and King Dedede gives you a couple extra hit points. So again, these aren't too substantial to the actual game, but I could see these being helpful if you ever get stuck on any of the levels. After that is Mario Kart 8. All we get for this one is some Mii costume skins. But there's a pretty good variety of them, to be fair. It's cool to have ones like Sonic and Pac-Man, but they really don't change the gameplay, and they all kind of just look the same. It would have been more interesting if the helmets were different shapes and designed a bit more uniquely, but it's still a novel idea. Then there's Mario Party 10. These are used in a couple of ways and are required for one of the game modes. To play Amiibo Party, you need a Mario-based amiibo to customize your game board and also use it as a game piece. So just like with Animal Crossing, you have to scan the amiibo every time you want to roll, which is so stupid and pointless. You can also get amiibo bonuses. If you pick a character that's in Mario Party, then you'll get a random new base that you can attach to your character. If you pick a random amiibo, then you get a literal scratch bonus. So yeah, there's some truly crazy amiibo content in this one. Now we have Mario and Sonic at the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. Yes, I am serious. Getting to the point of actually using the amiibo here takes quite a while, since you need to win 25 tournaments first. Only then can you play the Mario League by scanning in Mario, and the Sonic League by scanning in Sonic. Winning both of these leagues gets you a new Mii costume, and that's about it. You can also get bonus coins and rings for scanning any other amiibo. For Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, you can scan in a bunch of Mario amiibos to make them computer players that you can train up. I honestly had no idea that this game had something similar to Smash Bros, which would have been kinda cool if Ultra Smash wasn't such a bland and uninspired game. And now we have the Mini Mario and Friends Amiibo Challenge. Now, what the hell is that, you might be asking? Well, it's a puzzle game where you'll scan in a varied amount of Mario Amiibo in order to unlock levels. Some stages have routes that can only be taken with certain characters, and the goal is to get the Amiibo tokens and get to the end of the stage. I honestly had fun with these levels. There's a lot of different mechanics that manage to keep things varied and interesting. It is a pain that you need so many different Amiibo just to play all the stages, but for what it's worth, it's a decent puzzle game. Pokken Tournament is pretty straightforward. Using the Shadow Mewtwo amiibo card that came with the game, you can scan it to get Shadow Mewtwo early, but you can also scan any other amiibo once a day to get a random title, customization option, or gold. So it's not much, but the card itself looks pretty cool. Shovel Knight actually offers quite a bit of value for its amiibo, because of course it does, because this game is still awesome. To start, scanning in all 4 of the Shovel Knight amiibo unlocks a bunch of new challenges to the challenge board. It's only 5 per character, but it's still pretty neat, and some of them can be quite tough to get through. Next, we have Custom Knight. This allows you to level up a custom version of Shovel Knight and unlock a bunch of relics, charge attacks, abilities, and costumes. You'll do this by collecting gold, and it's a really fun idea. You also used to be able to unlock a co-op mode, but eventually Yacht Club Games updated this so the mode was available without requiring an amiibo, which honestly was a good call, because that's the kind of thing that feels crappy to trap behind a figure. Then there's Madame Meeber. If you find her in the campaign and scan in any of the 4 amiibo, you get these little fairies. Now, they don't really do anything, but that's okay. Just look at them go. They're just little guys having fun. They'll interact with the enemies and the dirt piles, and honestly, it's adorable. You can also unlock special cosmetic costumes within all 4 campaigns, which can also be unlocked in the Showdown mode. At the title screen of this battle mode, scanning Amiibo unlocks these same costumes. So all in all, you get quite a lot out of all these Amiibo compared to most games out there. Now we have Splatoon, which at the time had somewhat controversial Amiibo functionality. By scanning in any Inkling girl, boy, or squid Amiibo, you'd unlock exclusive challenge mode stages. Beating these nets you gear and even new minigames. And yeah, I can see how people would be upset about this, because there's actually quite a lot of stages hidden inside these Amiibo. Although honestly, these are really only meant for the dedicated fans, considering it doesn't really affect the main mode, which is multiplayer. But that's not all. If you scan Callie or Marie, you can activate any musical performance that you want at any time. This is really neat, to still be able to play the songs that normally only play during Splatfests. Next up is Star Fox Guard. Amiibo functionality is pretty basic for this one. Using Fox or Falco, you can wipe out all the enemies on screen once a day. And that's about it. It's by far one of the most bland and basic uses of Amiibo. But at least the game itself is pretty fun. I was having a good time playing it. And of course, Star Fox Zero has Amiibo as well. As you'd expect, these use the Fox and Falco Amiibo. With Fox, you can play a SNES-styled R-Wing, and with Falco, you can play a black R-Wing. Fox's R-Wing lets you shoot SNES-styled Nova Bombs with a fully charged shot, and Falco's deals twice the damage, but also takes twice the damage. Now we have Super Mario Maker, which has some of the most interesting Amiibo functionality. By scanning in a large majority of Amiibo, you can play as that character if you grab the Mystery Mushroom. Not only is it incredibly cool to see so many characters in this pixel art form, but you technically don't need the Amiibo to unlock them. You can also get these at random by playing through the 100 Mario Challenge. Most Amiibo have custom sound effects as well, which really adds to the charm of trying all these characters out. Way back in the day, I recreated a Mega Man level just because I could play as Mega Man, and thousands of levels are based around these different characters. Probably the most famous Amiibo-based game is Smash Bros. For Wii U. By scanning in any of the fighters, you can level them up and train them to get better and better. This isn't something I'd really find much interest in nowadays, but I could definitely see others getting into leveling up their favorite Amiibo and making them a strong partner. Next up is our only Japanese exclusive game. I will probably butcher this, but here it goes. Taiko Drum Master, Atsumete Tomodachi Daisakusuen. By scanning in a variety of Animal Crossing characters and Pac-Man, you'll unlock some music, frames, and even figures. For most of us, you'd need a modded Wii U or a Japanese Wii U to even play this, but this is actually a fun series. If you like rhythm games, then Taiko is definitely worth looking into. The songs from these Amiibo are a bop too. They're really well done remixes. And now we move on to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. This one has a lot of Amiibo support, and it also varies in a bunch of different ways. Wolf Link allows you to bring Wolf Link into the game as a character, which is just really damn cool. And even cooler, if you have a bunch of hearts in Twilight Princess HD, those hearts will actually carry over to Breath of the Wild. I don't know how Nintendo pulled off sorcery like that, but it's pretty interesting. You can also use a couple versions of Link to bring Epona into the game as a rideable horse. And there's a ton of Legend of Zelda characters that will drop materials or an exclusive item. These rare items include pieces of clothing that can only be accessed by the Amiibo it's related to, which again is pretty neat. And finally, any normal Amiibo will drop random materials. For the second and final Zelda title, Twilight Princess HD has a good amount of Amiibo support as well. One of the biggest ones being the ability to unlock the Cave of Shadows with Wolf Link. This is a gauntlet where you're forced to clear room after room of enemies as Wolf Link only, and it's pretty damn hard. If you want a challenge, this Amiibo is worth getting, but you also need to play through most of the game to fully experience the whole thing. You can also refill your arrows with a variety of Link Amiibo once a day, as well as refill your hearts with Zelda Amiibo. And finally, you can take twice as much damage from enemies and even the environment by scanning in Gandorf. So its difficulty is locked behind an Amiibo again, which is kind of dumb, but I guess it makes sense that it's through Ganon himself. Then of course there's everyone's favorite, word puzzles by POWGI. By scanning any amiibo, a puzzle will be generated based on the amiibo's nickname and even the owner's name. This is honestly really cool, despite this being such a basic game in general. And finally, we have Yoshi's Woolly World. This one also has a decent amount of features, one of those being a double Yoshi mode where you scan in any of the yarn or regular Yoshis. Playing as two different Yoshis at once is a little disorienting, but I love that it's an option. You can also save your favorite yarn patterns with the yarn Yoshis, and bring POWGI into levels with the yarn POWGI amiibo. Finally, there's a ton of Yoshi yarn patterns that could be unlocked that are based on the amiibo characters themselves. More generic amiibo will simply unlock a t-shirt yarn pattern as well. There is so much customization in Woolly World, which is great considering how incredible of a game it already is. And that's everything you could possibly know about Amiibo functionality in every single Wii U game. If you'd like to find out how Amiibo work in every 3DS game, then click the card right now. And with that, thanks for watching.